Hey, all. Welcome to our first ever episode of MFP Live. This is a live stream from the Mississippi Free Press that we're going to be doing here on Facebook. I'm Donna Ladd, the co-founder and editor of Mississippi Free Press, and your host for this week's episode. With me today is Teresa Jones.
Hi.
Hey, this is our first time, so we're just going to have fun, right? Teresa is a rising political strategist in Mississippi. She's from Sharkey County, which is, well, she'll tell us about that, Rolling Fork. And what did you say, Holly Bluff? Did I get that right?
Yeah, parts of Holly Bluff, Rolling Fork. It's Southern Delta region.
Yeah, we've been road tripping on weekends, and we've been over in that area getting to know.
Nice.
So yeah. I've actually heard of Holly Bluff at this point, but you now live in Oxford, right?
Yes, I've lived in Oxford since July, so I came here for law school.
So you're in law school now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right, but you are also really interested in politics and political strategy, elections.
Yes.
And you and I kind of started talking about doing this a while back, and it was funny because we just kind of couldn't get our act together. And then all of a sudden I woke up this morning thinking about you, and you texted me.
I did. I said, this has to happen.
This has to happen. And so we just said, okay, this has to happen. So we're going to do this today.
Right.
And so I guess that's what we had to do, is just kind of make it happen. And I do see the Mississippi flag behind you. So that's pretty cool.
Yes, I will get it framed as soon as I can. I wanted to wait to see if it would pass first.
Yeah.
But I purchased it a few months ago. A couple months ago, I did.
Yeah, well, we don't have one yet. We had a while back bought a Stennis flag back in the day when that was like the symbol that you wanted to bring the flag down, And so now we're going to be getting one of these flags, and I think putting it outside. So I'm kind of excited about it.
Yeah.
So let's talk. Let's get in there and talk about the election some. Personally, I'm not as interested in the partisan piece of it. I'm kind of interested in just what happened, in the state mostly. Although if you want to talk about something nationally, you can take it wherever you want to go. But so the state was this kind of, I guess we could call it a mixed bag in a way, right? We're talking about the flag initiative and how overwhelmingly it was supported. And I have to be honest, I think all of us were a little bit nervous about that. Was there going to be a campaign to try to block it so that we had to go through this whole process again? And so there's that one. And there was the medicinal marijuana initiative, which had a lot of money and coming after it in recent weeks. And so I wasn't quite sure what was going to happen with that one either. Right. And then changing this Jim Crow electoral law so that we could actually have a popular election in our statewide governor's races. So that was kind of I don't know what you think of those initiatives, but they passed, So,
overwhelmingly. I was so surprised to see every single one of these initiatives kind of pass with almost 1 million votes each.
I know. I'm kind of shocked in a way, I don't know. But so we had that, but then we had the Senate race. And at least as of now, the split in that race between Cindy Hyde-Smith, the Republican incumbent, and Mike Espy, the Democratic nominee, is bigger than it was 2 years ago in the special election. So, and then obviously Trump won the state. But as far as that race, I know there was a lot of high hopes for Espy. And so I'm curious what you think of that race and kind of the outcome of that.
Well, obviously it's very disappointing for me. 2 years ago, I came down to Mississippi specifically to work on his campaign from the U.S. Senate. And when we didn't make it that time around, it was very heartbreaking. I remember crying at the watch party because, we put a lot of effort into it. We put a lot of energy into it. People hadn't seen a competitive election, that kind of a competitive election in a long time from from an African-American candidate for a statewide office. And, when we didn't win, Mike, had this notion, let's just keep going. We got close in 6 months. Then imagine what we can do if we just kept going. Right. And over the past, I guess, year and a half, Mike had, been really active and vocal in a lot of local races. He's been very supportive in the Democratic races last year when we had a gubernatorial candidate, Jim Hood and Jay Hughes and all these other people across on statewide ticket. He helped a lot. He, served as a surrogate for some of these legislative events, and even just kind of made sure that he was present. He was physically out there and showing up. So when the time came around for him to just kind of officially launch the campaign this year, he was just still in the mode, just still still campaigning. He had more money because he didn't have the disadvantage of not having campaigned for a couple decades. He was continuously campaigning, and he still lost. Which is very, very disappointing. Right. I do believe that Mississippi is capable of, Democrats are capable of winning statewide elections. But it's all about demographics. What we're only at 77 or so percent reporting right now. But what we're seeing is that they're voting, Mississippi voters, current voters, vote along partisan line. They vote along racial and partisan lines. We saw that last year. We saw it the year before, and we're seeing it this year again. We knew that it would be an uphill battle. I remember the last day of the election, we're cleaning out the office. I told Mike, I said, that's 2020. That's Donald Trump's election year. I said, you're not going to be running against Cindy Hyde-Smith. You're running against the president. Right. I said, and he said, okay, I'm up for the battle. Mississippi is ready for it. And I think it did so well, garnered a lot of national attention again, surprisingly, because people don't pay that much attention to our states and our elections. And he did a really good job of getting his message out there. He did a really good job of garnering support from national leaders across the country, even former President Barack Obama. He did a really good job raising money this time. It just couldn't pull it through. And I think it has nothing to do with him and his candidacy. I think it has nothing to do with Democratic votes. I think it has nothing to do with African-American votes, and everything to do with expanding the electorate. Yeah. I'm a member of my party state executive committee. And one of the things that I'm really vocal about is expanding the electorate. We cannot rely on the Delta and Jackson to carry the whole state. We cannot do that. We have to make sure that we are widening our message to all of Mississippi so people feel comfortable being a proud Democrat and being a member of this party. And I think that's something the party itself has to do a better job at. So when we actually have candidates, they're not trying to redefine or shape what the party is, because the party has done a good job of doing that already.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because I think and correct me if I'm wrong about any of this, but it does feel like SB in this campaign really kind of owned who he was, and I like the way you're putting that. He was defining himself, often on the offensive, or at least, just confident, I think, in his messaging. He had a candidate who didn't want to debate him. He just kind of wanted to stay away from that. But he's doing that kind of in front of a party that has been, what's the word for it? Has been shy or inconsistent about defining themselves. I don't know what the word is. But.
Well, inconsistent is probably the best way to say it, or just kind of defunct. Like, we have not created a message for what does it mean to be a Mississippi Democrat. A few cycles ago, former Governor Haley Barbour, and I actually listened to him in a talk with Jerry Nash at Delta State sometime last year. And they talked about how the Republican Party did a great job of defining who we were. Mm-hmm. They said the Democrats are going to be this, they're going to be that. They are all these, line items. And we had no unified message to combat that, to define what our party is and who we are and what we believe in. And so when we have these competitive candidates like Mike Espy or David Berry or some of these other candidates we have, then they're having to kind of do it for us. And that's an uphill battle because, one candidate, it's very difficult for one candidate in the state of Mississippi to introduce the party to places in typically red area counties that aren't very familiar with Democratic messaging other than the national Democratic messaging. Right. And one of my personal issues has been that oftentimes the national Democrats leave out rural voters. They leave out Black rural voters, and they leave out rural issues that are especially pertinent here in Mississippi. That's right. Yeah. So I think this year when we had our party executive committee, we did a platform. We all got together and said, this is what our party platform is going to be. I think they'll be rolling those out soon. We all voted on things that were priorities for us. And I'm excited that the next 4 years, we can do a better job about framing our message of who we are and what we stand for, because these things that 70% of Mississippi overwhelmingly voted for, the Democratic Party has been pushing it for years. Democratic candidates, we've been trying to change this flag for decades.
Well, that's kind of what, exactly. I mean, that's what's so bizarre about this. I mean, and I don't even mean that he didn't win, right? I mean, it was going to be a tough race. You knew that, but it's like that it wasn't closer than it was in the same election where those three initiatives passed is pretty interesting. And I think it would be easy to kind of blame it on the candidate, right? Or I could imagine some people, saying maybe he was kind of embraced race or, more so than some candidates have done in the past, who've kind of run away from talking about a lot of things that he openly talked about. What do you think of that?
I think the voters like the voters like to know who you are, right? Yeah. So there's a couple of things happening here. One, you have a candidate who is embracing progressive issues, progressive platforms. He's embracing unity. These are messages that the Democratic presidential candidate was using as well, and it seemed to be working across some states that are traditionally Republican led. There's a lot of nuances. It's not just one candidate. Yeah. Mike Espy can't carry the state by himself. There has to be competitive elections on all fronts. We had a race on the 4th congressional district ran unopposed. Now, if you have a district where there's someone running unopposed, what incentive does some of those other average voters have to turn out and vote for everyone else when they, in their district, in their congressional district, they don't have anyone who represents them who's running? And I think even in his race, there were like 8,000 people who wrote in somebody else. Like
Palazzo, right?
The 3rd congressional district, we have Ms. Dot Benford, who I love. She runs almost every year. I know, perennial. Absolutely no support, absolutely no funding, and she still ran and got the base vote. She got the Democratic vote without trying. Yeah. So I think there has to be more efforts to expand the electorate to get our message and our policies to these communities who aren't hearing what we're about and what we stand for. All they're hearing is the messaging from the opposition party about who we are and what we stand for, what we're going to take away, which aren't always genuine and accurate. Usually just isn't accurate at all. But if you only hear the message from one side and you don't get to see or view anything else, and that's what you're going to believe.
Well, and then that's not helped by kind of this Republican trend in the state where they won't do debate.
I can't hear. Can you hear me? Let's see. Maybe it's my earphones.
Hey, Todd, do you want to take a break? That's my producer. Can we get our earphones back together?
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
I cannot hear you.
I don't know what happened. Okay. Well, this is our first show. And there I am. And so let's see. I did want to tell you guys over our break, MFP is the Mississippi Free Press. And if you haven't heard about the Mississippi Free Press yet, we're at MississippiFreePress.org. And we're a statewide nonprofit publication that we launched during COVID in March. And we're really kind of doing a great job. And I'm saying that because getting messages out. And one of the things recently that we have been doing is the Mississippi Trusted Elections Network Project. And many of you probably saw Ashton Pittman's work on the whole team, but Ashton did some real breaking stories about voter access, particularly in Madison County. And so we're going to kind of come out of the elections really focused on continuing that project and seeking solutions. And we're doing solution circles, which is basically what Teresa and I are doing now, but with a bunch of people. So if you would like to join a solution circle that has to do with voting access, voting safety, anything about voting with an eye to solutions, just get in touch with us at voting@MississippiFreePress.com. Just the way it sounds, voting@MississippiFreePress.com. I'd also want to mention real quick that the Mississippi Free Press is part of Newsmatch. And that's the donor matching program that happens every year for nonprofit media and news outlets around the country. And right now we're actually enjoying a triple match for the first $5,000 of what we raise. And that's thanks to both Newsmatch and the Jonathan Logan Family Foundation that offered an extra $5,000 to help us do this triple match. So if you go to mfp.ms/donate, then any amount that you donate, including recurring amounts over a year, they will triple. So that's mfp.ms/donate. Let me see, do I have Teresa back now?
Yes, I'm back. So sorry about that technology.
That's okay, dear. And in fact, I was just kind of talking on and on and on. So kind of casual here. So where were you in this conversation?
We're talking about the electorate and all the other the ways other Democrats can help boost voter turnout for the overall candidate when you have competitive elections underneath that major candidate.
Well, it's funny because you're talking about Palazzo and who was unopposed. And he was tweeting last week about, I noticed that he and Tate Reeves were tweeting about stoners, who were, I guess, the people who supposedly only stoners could support Initiative 65 for medicinal marijuana. But a lot of people were talking about like writing in another candidate. But I was thinking too, what you're saying. I mean, all that's, fun and games, but shouldn't the Dems run somebody for a congressional seat no matter what?
Yeah, I think every seat should be challenged every election. Like there should never be a case where the voters don't even have an option. Right. Because what incentive do they have to turn out if they don't have an option at all for anyone who's going to directly represent them?
Right.
So I think that's something that we're hoping to change in the next 4 years. And I'm looking forward to doing my part to helping my party identify and recruit people for every single public office.
Why don't they? Is it money or What?
Well, it's a lot of reasons. So one, it's definitely money. Elections are expensive.
Right.
You know, hiring staff and paying for polls, whether or not they matter, you know, but like paying for these signs and literature and just the media to get your message out. That's expensive. Second, you have to have people willing to do it. And, you know, running for office is not an easy job. You are putting yourself on public display and laying it all bare, like for people to just criticize something you said maybe 10 years ago when you were a kid, or maybe whether or not you voted the wrong way on a particular issue, or, you know, how you wear your hair, or your what kind of suits you wear. I think, you know, there's so many different, you know, battles you have to climb if you're going to be a public if you're being a candidate for a public office. So that's one of the biggest thing. And, you know, if you don't have your own wealth or your own financial resources, you're going to have to also put yourself on out to ask everyone for money to donate. We need this, we need that. And even that's another layer of difficulty, especially if you're someone who doesn't, you know, like asking for money. So that's,
and I've always been that person, by the way. So I know what you're talking about. And I'm running a nonprofit, and it's like you have to ask for money. That's just part of it. And I know candidates, I mean, candidates are probably on the phone asking for money more than most people understand that they are.
Yeah, because they're expensive. Absolutely. You know, I don't know what an ad would cost in an election year in Mississippi, but they're very expensive. And, you know, on top of all of those things, you have to have someone who's willing to serve. Like who is genuinely trying to do it for the people and care about the policies and platforms, and who's willing to serve and to fight the battles. And those things aren't easy. Find that right kind of combination of things for someone to actually put themselves out there to do. I think we'll get better at it the more we start recruiting and training people on how to run. And I'm excited about that because, you know, it's time we had more competitive elections. We see from these votes on these initiatives that are progressive initiatives that Mississippians overwhelmingly support progressive issues and progressive platforms. We just have to win them over with our message of who we are.
Well, I think you make a really good point about letting other people define you. I mean, even kind of, you know, so many of the races over the years have, you know, so often the strategy is, I even think about Jim Hood's race, but so much of the strategy can be going after it feels like going after the same white voters, kind of conservative, you know. And it's like, you know,
it hasn't worked.
It just does not work. I mean,
it hasn't worked. Year after year after year after year. And they are proving to us.
Right. Go ahead.
No, I think year after year after year in Mississippi, they're proving to us that they are going to vote for their Republican candidate. So when I say expand the electorate, I don't mean seek people who are not going to. I cannot imagine asking my granddad to vote for a Republican. My granddad is 75 or something. He's voted Democrat his whole life. He's not going to change. If a Republican goes canvassing at his door, asking for his vote, you're just not going to get it. And I think that's typical for both parties. You have this base 30 or so percent who are going to vote no matter what their party lines. When I say expanding, I mean these people who are not voting, these people who are outside of the process because they don't think it works for them. I'm talking about the single mom who may be a cashier at one of the restaurants, or I'm talking about, you know, someone who may be a truck driver who's in and out of the state. I'm talking about these students. I'm talking about these young people who are not sure if this is the place for them, so they leave. Expand the electorate to these people who are not engaged in the process because they don't feel it works for them, and show them how it can work for them. I think that in itself is going to be a huge lift, because it's expensive to reach these disengaged voters.
Right.
It's expensive to go find them, to register them, and then to get them to vote. That's why you have so many nonprofits who are out there doing the work, because it's expensive for a candidate to have to do it themselves. And I think with the new committee members we have in our party, we can do a good job of prioritizing that, and actually getting some new, fresh voters who believe in the issues that we care about.
Yeah. Well, how do you think the state did this year on reaching? Because there was a lot of outreach to younger voters. So how do you think? Well, the Democrats, particularly, since that's your party, that's who you're talking about. But no. But did you see change in that? That it seemed like it from outside.
So what I can say is I have had friends who are saying they're getting incessant texts and calls from the Democratic Party. So they have been receiving the outreach. I don't know how persuasive it's been. That's something we'd have to look into. Probably do some research with my party chair over the coming weeks to see how effective it was. I know that my peers voted and my friends voted, and I have friends who voted for the first time in this particular election, but I'm not sure how successful it's been across the state or outside of my own little bubble. Yeah.
Well, and it always strikes me, that the next, that thinking about the next campaign should start today, like the day after the election.
Yeah.
And again, I'm kind of on the outside looking in to all of this, but it seems like those things don't happen enough in Mississippi. Like but that there's a whole lot of things that happen. Now, to SB's credit, I think for this election, he started way back in advance. And so you see it happen some, right? But what happens starting today or tomorrow? We'll give people till tomorrow. But what should happen? Like if you were really going to get out there and engage in a way, particularly with younger voters, so that you can reach them in the next election, 2 years or 3 years or 4 years, whichever elections that we're talking about, right? So what should people do?
Well, I agree with you that it should start today. It should start before the end of the year. Our county parties, our city parties, our executive committees, they've got to get organized. They've got to start reaching out to them, meeting people where they are. Oftentimes, this whole process. One of my very good friends, she was a teacher for a decade, and she told me she first learned about delegates and executive committees and county committees through me this year. She said, she never knew that these things are happening. And and even when I ran for my county party executive committee, I realized a lot of young people don't know this thing is happening. They don't even know what the process is. No. They don't know how to get involved, and if they're going to get involved, what to do. So I think, and I actually chair the Young Democrats committee for my party. So we actually do have a comprehensive plan for the next 4 years and how we're going to get some, so we're going to get these voters in. So like I'm working with, and I work well with the Young Democrats of Mississippi president, and we're all working in tandem now. And what I saw 2 years ago is that there are a lot of people doing their own things. Everybody was doing their own things about what they thought would work or could work or what's been working. And for in my first time, and I've only been here back in Mississippi to a little over 2 years, but I'm seeing a lot of people work in tandem, a lot of people meeting at the table together so they can develop a single plan of how we move forward so that we can all we can make some real gains in the next 4 years.
Well, I've seen a lot of disappointment on social media and such, particularly over SB, because I think, a lot of
it was heartbreaking.
Yeah, right. And but among younger people who are kind of new to the process. So I guess part of what I would say is, what is your message to them directly, to say not to kind of give up on the process.
Do not lose hope.
Yeah.
We are seeing something that hasn't been done since I've been here, and that is starting with these changes.
Yeah.
Mississippi is not a lost cause. What we saw in 2008, and I use this to reference a lot. In 2008, Barack Obama was on the ticket. A dynamic African-American national leader ran for office and won. And subsequently, Mississippi got a Democratic congressman from the 1st congressional district. His name is Travis Childers. Mm-hmm. So Mississippi had 2 Democrats for the state. Now he lost his seat a couple years later, but what that said to me is that there are some voters out there who can make the difference, who can help get us some Democratic candidates into office. We just have to excite them. We have to find them. We have to bring our message to them, and we have to persist. We cannot give up. Mm-hmm. If we give up, then we're doing the next generation of Mississippians a disservice. If we didn't fight for this flag, if we didn't fight for all these different progressive changes, the next generations of Mississippians would not benefit from what we're doing today. Mm-hmm. If they gave up 10 years ago, in 2001, when they tried to get the flag changed, I wouldn't have a new flag today. Right. I think being persistent, moving the needle, it takes time, and it's hard. Mm-hmm. It's very hard to face disappointment after disappointment, especially when you put your time, your energy, and your hard work into seeing something change for a place that you love. This is my state. I love my state, and I know I share your feelings. I share the disappointments, but you cannot give up. Because it's not just about you and your feelings. It's not just about me and my feelings. It's about everybody's going to benefit from the work that we do today.
Well, I was thinking either early this morning, late last night, just being so tired, and some years ago, I'm from Neshoba County, and where Cheney, Goodman, Schwerner were killed, and it was one of the anniversaries. I think it was one of the big anniversaries at Mount Zion Church. And this was way back in the beginning of the Jackson Free Press when we started that here. And Bob Moses, the civil rights hero, was there. And he gave a talk, and he kind of framed it around the freedom is a struggle. Mm-hmm. Which is not a new concept. I mean, there were very famous, Black leaders, particularly, who've talked about that a lot. But that was when it struck me. I mean, it was like I heard it then. This idea that, because at that point, I think it was even before they prosecuted Edgar Ray Killen. So nobody had ever been prosecuted by the state in that case. But his words, and I remember I wrote a column about it at the time, but his words just really struck me that day in my home county. This idea that, in other words, at least the way I saw that was, you always have to struggle, because there will always be people who want to take it away, and that's just true. And so it's something that I've said to people a lot over the years. It's like you got to fight for it.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And we can't just assume that it's like a one election, one and done, and then everything's different. And so that's one of the things that especially with younger people, I will often kind of say something like that and kind of share that experience, because it's building. Yeah. And I think that's what I'm hearing you say. It's like it's building something on top of something else. And, and frankly, and again, you're not here to represent the Republican Party, but that's a party that's going to have some rebuilding to do, I suspect, and as time goes on, and it should become I would think the kind of party where their candidates will debate people, let's just start there. It's like debate the other candidate instead of kind of this blackout of what they do with media that might ask a difficult question. Now, we've had some Democrats over the years who did the same thing, but not in the same way as a party line like a memo,
Well,
you know?
Well, as honestly, to not debate if you're in the lead, it's been the longest and most successful political strategy for both parties. It's not fair because it's not fair. You're not giving your constituents or anyone the opportunity to hear you stand by your platform.
That's right.
The opportunity to hear what do you plan on doing for us.
Right.
And I think, I would hope that, we see a trend where people aren't afraid to stand on, this is what I think, and this is why I want to be reelected to this seat. Because, that's what the constituents deserve. That's what all of us deserve. If you're going to represent us and you're going to be our party leader. But political strategy wise, that's normal. That's what everyone does. If you're in a lead and you're worried that, something you say may cause you to lose that little edge, first thing they'll say is no, and it won't even be them. It'll be their campaign strategists. It'll be their advisors telling them, don't do it.
Well, as an editor and a journalist, I mean, some of the most frustrating experiences I've ever had are with political strategists, and
I can't imagine.
And we're talking about debates. We've sponsored some debates in various races over the years, and here in Jackson, and some of the Democratic strategists I'm talking about. It's I don't know, just trying to control everything about the process, and as some of that stuff is just, to me, from the kind of outside of politics looking in, because I don't even, I don't identify with a party, I mean, so it kind of makes sense. I really, I'm not a big partisan person, but just this idea of you should be talking to people, it's like talk to the voters, talk about issues. I hate negative campaigning. And some of these glossy flyers that we get. Some of them turned me off about, even some of the ones that I got, not from the SB campaign, but some of the ones that kind of came from PACs.
Well, I mean, so, political strategists and advisors, their goal is to win.
I know.
And so like for a lot of them, it's whatever works. And, it's the candidate who has to draw the line. Because they will push the needle as far as they can push it. They will run every negative ad. They will run every possible scenario to get them to the W, because that's their only bottom line. But it's up to the candidate to say, this is where I'm going to draw the line. I don't want us to do that. And obviously you can't control what an IE does or a super PAC does, but you can control what your advisors do. And sometimes, unfortunately, we have candidates who are the same way. They just want to win, so they release their leashes and let them do whatever they can.
And they don't always win. I mean, that's the other piece of it, right? It's like sometimes I think I look at it going, I kind of feel like that's working against you, but you don't quite understand that women, for instance, might be turned off by that or whatever.
Honestly, and I think actually I had a heated conversation with one of my peers recently about racism, and they were saying how people, they call everything racist to the point where it doesn't have the impact that it should have. And it made me so uncomfortable at first. But then I thought about it. I said, if every person that you paint is this way, I would be turned off too. I would be like, come on, here you are, crying wolf again. And then it loses the power and magnitude that it should have, but we don't have so that we don't have these kinds of people represented us. And so I agree with you on, we have to draw a line, and the candidates have to do a better job at drawing the line so that, we can actually have meaningful dialogue, so people can actually communicate with each other, because these are not the easiest conversations. But I choose to believe that most people want what's best for their family. Most people want what's best for their state. Most people want what's best for their country. I sure do. And I would hope that, we get to a better better society as a whole, and a better, better state where we can actually communicate more effectively and listen to the other person, so that we're not attacking someone's character just because they disagree, or so that we're not also like turning completely away from a candidate because they have a D by their name. And, we've been in our echo chambers listening to what everybody in our bubble says, so we don't even seek truth about who these people are and what they plan to do with our state.
Before we get out of here, I do want to, we've been doing this voting project, and you've probably seen some of the coverage about the, like the poll in the precinct in Madison County that moved without ample notice, and all of that. Yeah, and that was a big story for us last week. And I'd mentioned in the break this project that we're doing, and kind of the goal of it is to really look at the polls and the precincts, and to kind of look at it in a way that hasn't been done in the past, so that we can start trying to report on possible solutions for problems we have. So what I wanted to ask you is, from where you sit, what is your opinion of how we go about, like, what should Mississippi do to increase access to the polls? Because it's just so obvious, even from this reporting, like, and the pictures from Election Day, and who's standing in the long lines on the side of roads where they can fall into a ditch. It's overwhelmingly African Americans in Mississippi. So, but we all kind of know it, right? So that's what I'm saying. It's like, what happens like now, so that we can start doing something about these things?
Honestly, I think we need to make more initiatives. Put more initiatives on the ballot so people will vote for them, because most Mississippians want better access to the polling locations. Most Mississippians want early voting. Most Mississippians want these. Like, I think I saw a Chisholm Strategies and Millsap's study that showed that Republican and Democrat people overwhelmingly want these things. It's just the people we have in power do not. And so we have to do a better job about communicating that to everyone in the electorate, everyone in our state. And just, if we can't push it through the legislature because we don't have the votes, if we can't get our governor to approve it because they choose not to, then we put it on the ballot again. Right. And once, we unite as a community, as a state, to put it on the ballot so that we can all vote for the things that we want, until we actually get the candidates the public officials we want in office. With respect to the precincts being moved, I just think that's the worst thing ever. You have so many people who don't have access to internet, who can't like readily Google and see, where did it change to? Who do I call? You have so many people who don't even know who their election commissioners are. They don't know who the people are in charge who are responsible for helping them. And then it discourages them and they just don't vote. You have so many people who says, I only have a 45-minute break. Let me go vote. And it's a 3-hour wait in line, or an hour wait in line, or 2-hour wait in line. What are they going to do? They're going to go back to work and they're not going to vote. I think that is a failure to our democracy, to our state.
That's right.
And there's so many different ways we can overcome it. We're seeing other states do it better than what we're doing it. And I think most people in the electorate want things to be better, so they don't have to, so that all eligible voters can vote. Today, I think I'd have to think more about what can we do today to kind of to change that. That's a big issue, and it's something a lot of our Democratic elected officials have been trying to do for years, for decades in the state legislature. And those policies, those legislations, just been dying year after year after year. I would hope that with a new body, with the new people coming in, we can probably see some new things being taken up. But we'll just have to see. And we can do all of our parts by calling our legislature, say, hey, this is something we support, and also getting the message out to people in the community. But there are people on the ground that's been fighting for these things for years, and quite frankly, it seems like the initiatives are the only things that's working as effectively as they're working.
Well, that's interesting that you say that. I just use the initiative process.
Just use the initiative.
People are going to. Now, there's going to be all kinds of crazy stuff, probably, but the fact that this happened, I mean, there are other states that do that use the heck out of the initiative process.
Mm-hmm. I think the Republicans were very surprised to see the medicinal marijuana pass so overwhelmingly in the state. I think a lot of them were very surprised. I was surprised.
Yeah.
70%, that's a lot. That
is a lot. And there was a little confusing, it was the confusing ballot, it's like.
Even with the confusing ballot, it won. Even with the alternative, they won.
Right. Well, and I do think to be fair, I think it had this mix of support, there were Republicans support, but we want more of that. I mean, that's kind of what, and I think anything to do right now with criminal justice reform has that opportunity, which is not
honestly, and that's been the biggest reason why I supported this measure. It is the first step to decriminalizing marijuana, and you have all these people now that it's legal to be prescribed it. You have all these people who are in prison or in jail because they have it. This is the first step to kind of remedying those injustices to these people, these families who will never get their lives back from something that we all voted for. That 70% of the state said, okay, sure. And I think, that's something that our next legislative body has to take up, has to see, okay, so now that the state wants this, how can we justify throwing people in jail or prison when an overwhelming majority of the state supports having this?
Right. Now, the prison lobbies may not like that, but that's,
of course they don't.
It is what it is. No, and I agree with you. I mean, to me, that was, in some ways, that would probably be my top reason for thinking it's a good thing.
That was my top reason.
Yeah. And there was a lot of garbage out there about it, saying that things were going to happen that there's no evidence are going to happen. So the fact that people could see through that was a pretty interesting development in the whole thing, I think. That kind of rhetoric didn't work. So, it was. So I guess it was a mixed bag, right?
Yeah, and I think it's just truly telling that we're more alike than we realize, and we all want the same things, and it's just a matter of electing our leaders who believe that and who want to do that for everyone. Right.
That makes sense. Well, anything else you want to add? Anything on your mind?
No, I'm just, I was up till 2:00 in the morning trying to see what's happening. I was kind of telling a bunch of my friends, we don't, I'm supportive of Joe Biden. I actually work for the Obama administration in the office of the vice president. So I'm like, rooting for my friends and rooting for someone who I know to be an authentic, serious public leader. And I was like, oh no, we don't have it. And then I'm seeing that, wait, we might have it. What I realized is that the Democrats for months pushed absentee ballots, and Republicans for months did not. They said, do not trust USPS. So now that we're down to the wire, we're seeing an overwhelming majority of the absentee ballots, Democrat.
Right. Oh, I know. So, it's like that's who. So who knew? I know.
So I'm just super nervous, but cautiously optimistic is what I am right now.
Well, thank you so much for doing this. I'm going to have to pull you into a solution circle on voting to talk about the possible solutions. I think you would be great in there.
Thank you.
Thanks for doing this so much, Teresa. I loved it.
Thank you.
To others, whoever's out there watching, and we'll be putting this video out as well. Please remember to donate to the Mississippi Free Press or our news match at mfp.ms/donate. And I'd like to thank the Community Foundation for Mississippi for being our fiscal agent while we're applying for our C3. And keep an ear out for our next MFP Live coming up soon. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.